usually we save a Jake story for then, but I'm going to share a Jake story right now.
Let's do it.
And I remember when Josh and Jake were going to school together. The school they went to was kindergarten through 6th grade.
Yep.
And you were 5 years older than them, so you left and went to middle school, and then Jake was left by himself. So he had to be what, in 1st grade, 2nd grade?
2nd grade.
Okay, 2nd grade. And every day Jake would come home, and he'd be upset. He'd tears in his face, and I'd go, what's going on? And he says, there's a kid that makes fun of me and teases me every day on the way home from school. Mm-hmm. I go, what grade's this kid? And he goes, he's in 6th grade. I go, what does he do? He says I'm slow. He says I'm ugly. He says it calls me a million different names. And I said, well, what do you do? He goes, well, I try and get close enough to hit him, but he's so fast I can't get him. He's in 2nd grade, 6th grade. There's a big difference. And Jake's like, I can't get to him. I'm not afraid of him. I just can't get him. And he just keeps running his mouth. And every day he bullies me on the way home from school. Mm-hmm. And he used to walk home from school. He used to walk with you, and then you obviously moved on. And so I said to Jake, this is what I want you to do. I want to see for myself. Tomorrow when you walk home from school, I'm going to be halfway between our house and the school, and I want you to walk by me. But walk by me like you don't know me. I want to see the whole thing. Mm-hmm. And I'm watching Jake, and I'm watching this kid do exactly what Jake said. This kid sitting there giving Jake a hard time, making fun of him. He's making contact, pushing him, calling him ugly, calling him heavy. And I watch it, and they walk by me. And I go, hey, I said to the other kid, I go, hey, do you know this kid? And he goes, yeah, I know him. And I said, yeah, I know him too. I go, he's my son. I go, today's the last day this will ever happen.
Yep.
And you remember the story? You're hearing the story. And so I said, this is the last day it's ever going to happen. And I go, matter of fact, the next time it happens, I will be inside your living room beating the shit out of your dad. And he looked at me, and I said, and guess what? You'll be watching when I'm doing it. And it's going to be terrible, and it's going to hurt really bad, and it's all going to be your fault because you started this with my son. I go, you will never, ever get near my kid again, and you'll never call him names, and you'll never push him, and you'll never make contact with him. You're going to ignore him like you don't know him because you don't know him. And that kid, boom, sprints home, takes off. And it was funny. It was one of those moments as a dad where, your kid looks at you like you're a superhero, like you're wearing a cape. Yeah. And for Jake, he was like, my dad had my back. And so for me, I was like, oh, that was great. Well, I've told this story, before. I think I told the story on the radio years ago, and immediately got a call from a friend of mine who's a police officer. Hey, guess what? You can't threaten a kid. And I was like, well, I didn't threaten the kid. I threatened his dad. You kind of went through the kid. That's kind of against the law. And I'm like, shit. So what was a great story was one of those like, I wonder if they'd call the cops,
Yeah.
I told the kid I was going to beat his dad up in front of him in his living room.
I think it's great parenting.
And so thanks. See?
Yeah, I think it's a great job.
I don't regret that move. I'm
Did
glad.
It work?
100%.
That's what matters most.
And that kid, what's funny is Jake never went after the kid later on because that kid never grew in size. Jake grew into be a monster of a person. And Jake could have said, hey, I remember what you did when I was in 2nd grade, but he never, went after the kid. The kid, as far as I know, the kid still lived in the neighborhood. We lived in the neighborhood. But it ended that day. And it was a cool moment. I don't know if my parents would have done it for me. You know what I mean?
I don't know how many parents would have done that.
And it was a crazy story, but I remember Jake was like, all right, from that point on, I think Jake knew that, hey, my dad always has my back.